tell us, it can't always have been that easy. You've had a career, you've had some health stuff, and you've had some challenges along the way. What's something that you're comfortable sharing that was that gut punch that now looking back was a good thing, but at the time felt like it was very hard to go through?
Oh, you want me to be honest with you? And
Honest and
yeah,
transparent. That's what we're looking
transparent.
for on the Living a Better Story show.
Back in 1991, I'd been married for 20 years and thought everything was going well. And my spouse, my wife, came to me and said, I'm leaving and I'm going to move in with my boyfriend, who I didn't even know she had. So I went through a divorce that just about killed me. I stopped eating and lost about 60 pounds in 2 months and really had a rough time of it. I had 5 children, and I went to a counselor, and he said, what you're feeling is extremely similar to what a man would feel if his wife was killed in a car wreck and all their children died also.
Wow.
And he said, that's what you're feeling. He says it's a normal thing, but it is severe. And it was for me. And it took me 10 years to get over it. It took me 10 years to not be in a suffering mode where I felt a tremendous loss. But because of that, there was an opportunity I had in 1999 to go visit some children's projects for Compassion International. I went to Peru, South America, Lima, Peru. And while I was there, I saw what I believe is poverty for the first time in my life. I'd seen American poverty, but that's nothing compared to third world country poverty, where people are suffering and dying and just because they can't get a piece of bread. And when I left Lima, Peru, I knew that my life was changed forever. I knew that it was not going to be the same for me, that I could not turn my back. I couldn't go home and go to my refrigerator and to my pantry and to the fast food restaurant and to the grocery store without thinking about all those kids that I saw, thinking about all those kids that are suffering needlessly while I enjoyed my life.
Mm.
I enjoyed eating 3 meals a day where they are hoping, hoping to eat 1 meal a day, even a partial meal. And so I came home and I said, I'm going to do something about it. And the pain of losing my children in a divorce was what made me super sensitive when I met these kids who the ones that really touched me the most were the orphans because they were like my kids. They had lost at least one of their parents. My kids lost me. And so I identified with these orphans and I said, if there's something that I can do, I'll do it. And I said, God, whatever you want me to do, I'll do. And so I believe that God directed me to think about what their needs were. I felt that God was talking to me and saying, what do they need? And I said, they need everything: books, backpacks, beds, beanie babies, blankets. He said, yeah, but what do they need the most? I said, well, according to the statistics, 70% of them don't have enough food to make it through a day and don't have a clue where food's coming tomorrow or if there is food tomorrow. He said, well, then feed them. And I thought, well, God, that's great. How do I do that? He said, get other people to work with you, get other people involved, give other people the opportunity to join you. And he said, you live in America. It's typical to eat 3 meals a day. I bet you could find somebody who's willing to cut back 35 cents a day. And that's what we can feed an orphan for, 35 cents a day.
Mm.
And so if we can get some people to help us, then maybe we could feed some. Well, here we are, almost 9 million meals later, and we have impacted a lot of orphans, thousands and thousands of them. But the thing is that just because we took care of those, there's, for every orphan that grows up and becomes an adult and leaves the the orphan project, there's probably 10 more that are following in their footsteps that are just being born. So there's a lot of orphans out there that are orphaned for no fault of their own. So I decided that it was time for me to do something, and I just said, well, I'm kind of stupid. I can I can do something. And even though my people say that, you're fighting an uphill battle, I couldn't see the uphill battle part. All I saw was an opportunity. So I took it. And here we are. We're talking to Chad about food for orphans.
All right. Last question. I think, again, I know the answer, but I'm going to ask it anyway because it's question 10. And that's, what role does faith play in your life? We've touched on it a lot, but what would you say about faith?
Well, it without a doubt is the cinder rail for me. It's where I figure out, how am I off base any? Am I off course? And my faith and my belief in God is how I find whether or not I'm close to the edge of the cliff or not. And so if it wasn't for that, if it wasn't for me pursuing God and just having conversations with God and that, I don't think I would know where the edges were. I don't think I'd know where the cliff was. And I'm not willing to risk it. Maybe when I was 20, I would have risked it. But now that I've gotten a little wiser and a little older, and I've realized some of the mistakes, and when you stub your toe, man, it really hurts sometimes. Sometimes you just hit that nerve that you just, whoa, I didn't even know that nerve was there. And that's what life is like sometimes. We have a tendency to go maybe a little bit too close to the edge and we didn't mean to, or maybe with the path we're on is littered with glass and we didn't know it, nails and glass. There have been times when I've been so glad that God says, hey, look down, look at your feet, look at the path you're on, look at the direction you're headed. This is not going to end good. So why don't you get off this path? And so that's what faith has meant for me. And if it wasn't for that, I don't know where I'd be right now, Chad. I could be anywhere and not necessarily in a good place. So I'm glad to be where I'm at. And I'm glad to be letting God handle the reins.